Now, on the morning of the 3rd, Lee had been considering for a good part of the evening what was going to happen on the 3rd day of the battle on July the 3rd. Now, they had tried him on both sides, hit the Union on both sides, and they'd been repulsed. So he thought they must be weaker in the center, like they had done in other previous battles. They should be able to do that. And so he went south, and he found General Longstreet, who actually had a little bit of his old spirit back. It seemed like he was in a much better mood than he was the day before after the horrible losses of the day before. And what had happened was he actually talked to Longstreet, and Longstreet he had an idea, and he's like, hey, I just had my scouts out all evening scouting the whole southern position. The way is open. We can make a move there. We can get some high ground. They can hit us, and everything will go the way it's supposed to. And all we have to do is move. And Lee shut the idea down. Said, no, we're not going to do that, General. We're going to do pretty much the exact opposite. We're going to go straight forward and hit them in the dead center. Longstreet's energy immediately left him, but, you know, he was a good soldier, so he didn't fight him on it. So he told him of his plans to bring his entire corps forward, Hood, McLaws, and their 3rd Division of Pickett, who was now up, and hit the Federal center. But Longstreet said, you know, his 2 divisions of Hood and McLaws, they did a forced march, and they went straight into the fight, and they lost almost half their strength. They were not fit to make any sort of an attack. And after Lee considered this, he decided to give Longstreet 2 divisions from A.P. Hill's corps, General Pettigrew and General Trimble, who were originally Heath's divisions, and Pender's divisions, who were both injured in previous fighting, who knows they had new commanders. And they would give them almost 15,000 men to march and attack and smash the Federal center. And Longstreet was very concerned about this. After much discussion, Lee would not hear of any sort of a change in the plan, but Longstreet finally said, basically, sir, you know, I've been a soldier all my life. I've served from the ranks on up. I've fought in every kind of skirmish there is. And he says, no 15,000 men ever arrayed for battle can make that charge with any hope of success. And Lee still held his position that the attack still needed to go forward. And so Longstreet had to start forming all the men behind the thicket of the bunch of trees on Seminary Ridge, ready to march on the Union center. Now, General Meade the night before had called a council of war with his generals, where Lee hadn't talked to his generals at all, and they all decided they wanted to stay. They wanted to stay on the defensive, and Meade decided that if they were going to Lee was going to attack anywhere, it's probably going to be in the center the next day. And so they watched and waited. And Longstreet opened up around in the late mid-afternoon with every single gun they had firing on the Union center. And then the Union, of course, responded back, and it was the largest artillery battle in all of North American history. The guns were so loud, and the barrage was so loud, they could hear it 200 miles away in Pittsburgh. That's how loud the barrage was. Now, the point of the artillery barrage was to soften up the Union center so that when Pickett and the other divisions made their charge, they would be able to get through no problem. But there was a problem. For some reason, the Confederate guns were overshooting by about a good 60 yards. And so they were shooting harmlessly over all of the Union troops and hitting the trees and the stuff behind them. So most of the artillery was not having any sort of an effect. Meanwhile, this barrage went on for quite some time. The Union officers actually had their artillerymen actually stop firing a lot of their guns, not because of anything wrong, but they had a feeling something else was coming, so they decided to stop and hold their ammunition. This misled the Confederate artillery, Colonel Alexander, into believing that the barrage was having its effect. And he sent word down to Pickett, who sent word to Longstreet that we need to make this attack. If we're going to make it at all, we got to make it now. Longstreet was against the whole thing. He was sitting on a fence, and Pickett came up to him and told him that he goes, General Longstreet, should I order the attack? Longstreet couldn't even respond. He was so distraught at the idea of making this charge, which he knew was suicide. All he could do was just drop his head in a nod. And so Pickett went in front of his division and said, up men, up into your posts, and let no man forget today that you are from old Virginia. And the other thing happened with the other divisions as well. And they all marched forward. The Union troops were in shock, hearing, the artillery stopped. They saw the battle flags of 15,000 Confederate troops marching across this open field toward them. And immediately, as soon as they were in range of the Union guns, they were being blown to pieces by the Union artillery. And they were getting shot by long-range artillery fire. They were from all over the field. And as they got closer, when they crossed over the field, they crossed over the road. It wasn't actually a straight road. It was actually almost like a gully, a sunken road. They'd go down into the sunken road when basically the end of the road came up to their chest. Then they'd climb up there, climb up over the fence, and then get over there. And then once they got over that, it somehow she got over that fence, or came in a range of musket fire and canister. What that is where they take little bits of shrapnel and metal. Some people actually call it grape shot, and they put those inside of the cannon and basically turn the cannon into a very large shotgun. And thousands of bits of metal wiping holes in the lines. They were getting blown to pieces as they were coming across this field. And and that's what was happening at that point. More on that to come.